Well, I think the generative piece is generally very, very cool. And if you've used ChatGPT and you've asked it questions and it like writes a story about whatever topic you want, and then you ask it to write it in Shakespearean English or like it's just very impressive and it feels amazing.
Mm.
So I think that it's re-sparked people's imagination on what it can do. But the generative AI models that write stories to that reflect humans aren't actually like they're trained on data, but sort of static cuts of data. And so it oftentimes will make things up. It will like
Hallucinate.
it'll
Yeah.
hallucinate is the term they apply to it. I was reading this morning. There's a claim in the U.S. right now about a lawyer who wrote. Have you seen this one? Where
Yeah.
he files his motion writing ChatGPT, and essentially the position is the statute of limitations has expired for his
Mm.
client's thing, and he asked ChatGPT for examples where the statute didn't apply, and it gave him like 6 cases, and he slaps the motion down. He's like, "Here are evidence for
Mm.
all the reasons." None of it's true, right? And so now this person he's I think being sued or something. And he's like, I just thought I had information that I didn't have access to. You're like, what? From
So,
where? It's not, so you're having a bit of this happening.
and this is the funny thing, right? Where it's two different versions of ChatGPT, and some of them could be sorry of AI. Some of them could be very useful. For example, by creating sort of pools of association and being able to quantify the relationships between words and groups of words, we are able to use AI to infer similar meaning from single words or groups of words to enable it to effectively, very convincingly appear to understand
Yeah.
what it's talking about. But in reality, it's continuing to just statistically guess what the most appropriate word to put in at
Yeah.
any given time is.
Yep.
If you use that in a extractive sense, it means it can read things in quite a clever way. So it can read, you know, so the lawyer example, it can look at loads of case law and look for examples where this sort of thing has happened. It might be able to realize that we should consign this case to the trash heap of history. Means the same as we should ignore this case.
Yeah.
And use that in a useful way. However, that's if it's accessing real sources and it's being used to group things in a completely different application to the way that ChatGPT exists. ChatGPT, on the other hand, is generative and is creating stuff, often stuff that doesn't exist at all, on the basis of what it expects stuff to look like.
Yeah.
To the point where, as you said, it invents legal cases that sound incredibly convincing. It invents code that looks incredibly convincing. It invents website addresses. We used it the other day where I was looking just as an experiment to try and find, articles or to pair common mentions between, certain events and so on. And I said, show me your sources. And it invented sources, literally
Really?
made up website addresses that were incredibly convincing, www.bbc.com / and then a really convincing end of address. But when you clicked on it, it was like, oh, funny, this doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
But using its knowledge of frequency of form,
Yeah.
and what the form of these things should look like. So it's all kind of form and no content in some ways on the generative side of things. So if you want to use it if you can provide it with the content and ask it to improve the form, it's actually being really useful. I know like lots of coders are actually finding it quite useful as a form checker. And we've had Copilot-y type things for a while that do that. I think there's another one in the law world called Co-Counsel. That again would look and just sort of spot things for you, so that you are able to check your form. But I think the thing that people need to remember is that there does need to be a driver who's checking and in some cases providing completely on their own the content that they actually want to run with. But ChatGPT can help you with the form.
Yeah.